communication by Stephen.
Wow, just threw that one right at me, right?
Well, you've always got one.
Be sure and pray for me.
Hip pocket.
All right. All right. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for just letting us be here tonight and give us what we need to make the right decisions for the town, whether that be the wisdom, the knowledge, or ask the right questions. We just want your will to be done. Pray for everyone that's here tonight while they do the work of the town and when they go home to be with their families. And these things, I pray, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the meeting to order, and we have time for public comments. None. All right, next up on the agenda is the consent agenda. Discussion?
Move approval of the consent agenda.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next up, agenda approval. And we have at least one addition.
Yeah, Mayor Pro Tem, I have two, but they're related, and they'll be quick tonight. I'd ask to the item is text amendment to section 10.1-36 of the development ordinance. That's the outdoor storage language. Part two is Union West Business Park. That's in general. You can just label it that. I'll be quick.
All right, let's make that item 6B. Any other changes to the agenda?
So both of those are just one item under 6B.
Generic, yeah, one item-ish.
There are two items because both would require action, so let's do two different items if you want.
All right, 6B and C.
All right. And then are we removing line item 6?
No, I think we need to have the discussion and possible action anyway.
Okay. All right. All right. I moved to approve the agenda as amended with the addition of 6B, which is to discuss outdoor storage, and 6C, the business park.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
All right. Zoning, next up, DOT right-of-way agreement and the resolution.
That'll help give you the actual area that we're talking about. But the North Carolina Department of Transportation is doing project -4714 to approximately 6.5 miles of East John Street and Old Monroe Road from Trade Street to Wesley Chapel Stouts Road, and it goes through the towns of Matthews, Stallings, and Indian Trail. The work is proposed to improve traffic flow, reduce traffic delays, and allow travel in the area. It's divided in 3 sections. And in that circle area, as you can see, that's the part C, and that's what AC, and that's what goes through the town of the town owns 3 separate parcels, and North Carolina Department of Transportation approached us because in order to do the road widening project, they need to acquire private property, and the town owns 3 separate parcels where this project goes over. The first parcel is parcel 172, and this is across from Town Hall, and you can see that's the area right there where they're requesting a drainage utility easement, temporary drainage easement, and a temporary drainage easement. That is their actual plan sheet. This is 242 Stallings Road. It's across from Town Hall. It's approximately 0.689 acres. That's the parcel in total, not what's being taken. The temporary construction easement, that area is in yellow, that's 0.029 of an acre. The drainage utility easement, that's what you see in blue, and that's 0.017 of an acre. And the temporary drainage easement in green is 0.011. North Carolina Department of Transportation originally offered $12,275 to acquire this property, and we ended up getting them to come up to $27,275 for this parcel. Hall campus is. There's the aerial photograph of it, and then here showing where the proposed temporary construction easement will be, and the bottom photo has the proposed permanent utility easement and temporary construction easement. And then the next page has the actual plan sheet. This parcel is 2.58 acres total. There's no right-of-way needed, just a temporary construction easement of 0.015 of an acre, and that's in yellow, and a permanent utility easement of 0.005 of an acre in purple. Their original offer was $9,175, and we got them to come up to $24,175. Finally, the third parcel is where the old John Deere property was. There's the area proposed in the right-of-way and the temporary construction easement facing southeast on both of those photos. And then there's two plan sheets for this because this one, they needed a little more property. The property as a whole is 4.41 acres. The right-of-way that they're purchasing from us is 0.349 tenths of an acre, and that's in red. The temporary construction easement is 0.236, and that's in yellow. And then the permanent drainage easement, which was on the first plan sheet, and I've got a copy if anyone needs to see it, that's 0.11 of an acre. Their original offer was $182,250, and we got them to come up with $235,000. When I talked to Mr. Page, the right-of-way agent today, I asked him about the timeline, and he expected they would start grading this year, moving utilities next year, but the actual road work probably would not start until 2025, if that, and that's their timeline for it.
Okay.
But in your agenda tonight is a resolution just authorizing the town. Typically, there's a different process, right, when you're selling property, but this isn't really voluntary, so we don't have to go through those statutory provisions because the Department of Transportation would have just filed a condemnation against us and would have been in court if we did not agree on a price. What we're just asking for is a motion to adopt the resolution.
We need to read the resolution in?
You don't need to.
Can I ask one question?
Yes.
One question, please. Part of these properties, they're gonna, I guess, tear up the sidewalk. I'm assuming as part of the construction, they're gonna put that sidewalk back? Or do we know that?
They're putting the sidewalk to a portion, but only where their project ends.
But if the sidewalk's there, they have to replace it.
Okay,
They won't be adding any.
okay. That's what I wanted to know.
At one point, we wanted additional sidewalk, and it was outside the scope of their project, and they weren't interested in doing anything outside of their.
Could you go back and
Surprise me.
on the last parcel, the red? Okay, that's what I wanted to see. Is that red or orange, or both? What, I'm looking for the 0.349 acres of okay, so this is right-of-way
That's right-of-way.
taken, which means the roadway plus a little bit of red, which is the current sidewalk, or there's not a sidewalk, but into the property. So that's the red.
Correct.
And the orange is temporary?
Yeah, the orange is on the other. Orange is that little area up.
Okay, and so, yeah, okay, so I was talking about I'm confused with the colors. I wish you could,
This is orange.
okay. And
This is the yellow,
yellow.
and then
And the yellow is temporary?
Yes.
Got it. Okay,
Yeah, that's just where they need to leave their construction materials and
yeah,
have enough space to be able to do the work they need to do.
okay,
And it goes, once the project
Yeah.
is done, it goes away.
right. So right of way is what we've lost, which is, looks to be feet, not yards of, how far, do you know how far that is? Never mind, it's not germane. We'll approve it. I think I've seen that before, but thank you. That's enough.
I can send you the entire appraisal that has all of these drawings if you'd like.
Please.
You got another one?
Just one more. So you're talking about, we're gonna be without two of our major parking lots for, yeah, for starting later this year into probably 4 or 5 years. Is that a true statement? And that, I know that's more, I mean, I would assume that means we can't use the one across the street, and we won't be able to use the parking lot at the John Deere dealership, or at least part of it, right?
I mean, they have to give you access in and out and a the area that they're, the construction area and the area they're taking will be gone, but the rest of it is still your property.
Okay.
they can't block it off.
Parking lot. They can't keep equipment or any of their belongings on any other area but their right away they purchase and the temporary construction.
Okay.
Um,
I'm just thinking that the 50th anniversary is gonna be right in that time period.
Plenty of time to plan for it.
Yeah,
It's gonna happen, whether we like it or not.
yeah, exactly. I'm just thinking out loud, that's all.
It's scary.
Yeah.
All right, what's the pleasure of the council?
I move to approve a resolution accepting the NCDOT right-of-way pricing for 3 town of Stallings owned parcels.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, thank you, that passes. Eunice, you are up with a farmer's market proposal.
Yes. Thank you. Good afternoon, you guys.
Good afternoon.
All right. Hey, exciting, fun. So, as you guys know, the farmers market has come to an end this season. 3 years ago, this was one of y'all's top priorities for a downtown to really just kind of start something to initiate that downtown feeling. I can't believe that was 3 years ago that we started this, but our contract with the Union County Extension lasted for 3 years. So this was the last year of that. I met with Jessica King, who's the county extensions coordinator. Due to, I don't want to say the unsuccessful market, but if you guys have been this past season, just very poor attendance. The market vendors didn't seem really interested. For the past 3 years, we've done a variety of different things for the Parks Department to sustain this market. I think what was really hard for us is with our small staff, we were having to set up, tear down, and be there the whole time. And this was just a little bit of a strain from year one, and we've kind of tried to consolidate that throughout the years. So essentially it ended in something that didn't work for the Parks Department, didn't really work for the county as well. So we kind of are at this crossroad of we have an option. We can either, option one is get rid of the farmer's market. That is something the Parks Department doesn't want to do. We think that this could be viable, done the right way. So then option two, we met Montana, and she is the owner and operator of Sunny Day Market Produce. Their LLC, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. She runs a farm stand in Indian Trail in their Sun Valley Commons area that they purchased and run and operate. And we've worked together in the past
Yeah.
with the police department market, the Cupid's Creations and Crafts as well in the park. So we collaborated together, kind of sat down what we envisioned for a market, what we thought y'all would like to see, kind of y'all's feedback we've heard over the years, and also what we've struggled with. So together, we kind of created this plan of what can y'all do, what can we do, how can we serve the community. So what we ended on is Montana was gonna run a market and propose it to y'all from May 4th to August 31st. We would go back to doing it every Saturday from 8 to noon. And since she's been doing this for a while, we're so fortunate that she has all these vendors in her back pocket to have the coffee cart, the breakfast, the meat and fruit, veggie vendors, and having that more realistic farmers market vision that you guys kind of talked about, and also no setup or tear down required from the Parks Department, as well as no full-time Parks Department has to be there. Our part-time staff would be okay with that on the weekends. So it really was just like the perfect scenario for us, honestly, if we want to continue with a farmers market in downtown. This would be ran in this adjacent lot across from us that's empty. Montana and her crew would oversee all the vendors. She would take over communication. And essentially, it would just be the Parks Department hosting a special little program once a month while the market goes on. So I kind of just wanted to bring her in, introduce her to you guys before we sign over a one-year contract for a farmer's market, if that's what y'all seem to do. So I'll let you kind of introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name's Montana Noel. So I've been in Indian Trail for going on 6 years. I just had my first child, and during COVID, how it all came together was I owned a boutique right across from Johnny K's, right there at the VFW, and small businesses were struggling. So we put all these small businesses and crafters together, started having outdoor markets, and then slowly it started moving into crafters, but small businesses were still struggling, and that came from farmers, so on and so forth. And they are running into a situation now where we were supporting small and local so hard for so long, right when COVID hit. And now Amazon's back. We're doing our pickup, our local pickup from Publix and Harris Teeter and all that jazz. So we really need to focus back on supporting local, supporting our farmers, because they've gone out, they've bought all this equipment for our local towns to be able to provide for us, but now we're not buying from them anymore, so they're finding themselves in trouble due to the loans that they're pulling out and all of that bad stuff. So to be able to add another farmer's market would be awesome. I know Matthews seems like a competition, but I don't. I think it's more of an add-on, because for me personally, like when I go to the Matthews Farmer's Market, you've got to get there first thing in the morning, or you might not get everything you want, because they've done such a successful job, and that is who I'm practically branding out the farmer's market under, is following who's done the best in the league to bring that to Stallings.
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions, now's the time to ask.
So are you behind the pop-up markets that happen in Indian Trail?
Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Not all of them, but
All of them.
majority. If you ever see Sunny Day markets are partnered like with Sun Valley Commons or a town, that's usually Sunny Days.
Okay.
Yeah, question. What are the terms of the contract? I don't see that in here as explicitly as I thought. I see times, I see fall and spring, I see rain plan, James River parking lot, and you said it's in the grass lot over there.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Who pays who what?
So this is a 1-year trial run for us
Okay.
before we get into any funds. Just because with the 3 years that we worked with the county and it being a little unsuccessful, I would say it was hard for us to put a price tag on what that's going to look like for us. And if this is viable, we can keep it, move it forward. Going to reevaluate next year on what that's going to look like for
So
us.
free use of town land, do
Correct.
something the town wants. Yeah, that's fine. I just
Yep,
didn't see
correct.
that.
Nope, I appreciate you asking. It's a great question.
Okay.
And something that's important too, I think, for you guys to know that the county did offer, we'll be able to do SNAP and EBT at this market. And with the county, we couldn't do that. So I think that is an important thing to throw out as well.
Questions down there?
It says possible action. Is there?
Let's, Possible, let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know what the possible, just the
We have to
approval of the
accept.
contract.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
I
something
know
we
this
can
is, may I?
Yes.
A one-year contract, free to try it out. What, maybe Ms. Noel, thank you, by the way, this is neat. What would you see a year from now as a successful market experience? If we're doing this a year from now, we're in the fall, and you've just started the fall, we're finished the summer, and you come and say it's been great, what would that have looked like? Numbers or activities? I don't know how you would define it. I'm just curious.
I think I'm a little confused on the question, like how would we know that we would want to go into a year two? Based off of our vendors and if they really wanted to come back and where we stood to see if maybe we can put something else into play. But I think with how we're coming out with maybe live music once a month, a craft for kids, education, we're going above and beyond. So I don't see why we wouldn't want to. And if we do put everything in and it's not good, maybe it's just not a good location for one, and we know, hey, maybe we shouldn't try again. But then it depends all off the vendors, honestly, to see, because if the vendors aren't happy, then
Right. And do you have experience running a Christmas tree lot? I assume pumpkins will be part of the fall,
yeah,
but do
so
you have a
pumpkins will be
seasonal
part of the fall. The Christmas tree lot is iffy, so I've been working with a couple farms. About 10 years ago, a lot of the Christmas tree farms mowed down their land to prove a point to some different agriculture leaders. And so Christmas trees, I cannot get my hands on any, and anybody who can is not willing to give out
Sure,
any trees.
right.
So pumpkins, yes. Christmas trees, no, I have not.
Thank you.
So,
Great.
yeah.
I'm still chuckling over the comment about to prove a point.
Yeah, I mean,
You never know.
that's what happened. So if you're wondering why your trees have been so expensive for the past, yeah, or there's a shortage of trees, they just mowed them down. And so it takes about 10 years for a tree to grow for us to be able to put it in our home for Christmas.
Good.
Make the motion?
Sure.
Thank you.
Let's, let me back up. Approve a one-year contract with Sunny, excuse me, I'm scrolling here, Sunny Day Markets for a calendar year 2024. Does that cover it?
That's perfect.
Oh, is it right up there?
Sorry.
Oh, look, I got
There you
close.
go. It's okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thank you
Thank
guys
y'all.
so much.
Thank you.
Good to see you too, guys. I am gonna have.
Use of
Property,
free use of property, I guess.
one entity. Balance scorecard annual reports up next, Alex.
Well, I don't know. It's sad. I used to have a. I don't even think they've talked about money.
No, you're fine.
This one.
I've got it right here, you can do it. I've got the,
Oh, you gotta pull it up. Okay.
thank you.
You just need to jump start the battery?
Hey, Alex, that was great, man. Can we?
This is my JFK in the Rose Garden moment. All right, so I'm gonna go into our balance scorecard. If at any point we're getting too lengthy, just give me the signal.
Which one? Which
one?
signal?
I'm gonna practice. Is this one you want? Or
Yes, are you giving it or are you just
No,
practicing?
well, I'll give soon, but I wanna make sure I'm doing the right way.
Yeah, that sounds good. You know, when it comes to local government, it can be messy because democracy's messy, right? But that's important because you want everybody to be able to come to the table, share their opinion, have input. And while that's a good thing, it can be a challenge to get things done in government. You hear that all the time with local government, any government. It's really hard to get things done. You've got 7 elected officials that operate as a body. You've got a town manager, you've got numerous staff, you've got all these members of the public, inside, outside the town, businesses, nonprofits, other local governments. It's a wonder sometimes how anything gets done, right? So the idea with the balanced scorecard is just to take all these different moving parts and the vision, the mission, council priorities, and put it all together to try to kind of move forward in a common direction. So in essence, the balanced scorecard is kind of like a strategic planning tool, a report card, a learning tool. What it's not is a gotcha tool. It's not meant to assign blame, but it's meant to foster conversations of, hey, if these things aren't going right, let's talk about them and think about, all right, how can we change them to move forward? Are we chasing the right goals? Those kind of things. So at the same time, it's meant to foster collaboration with council, staff, all the way from the front line. A lot of our departments meet with their entire staffs and talk about goals. So we get a lot of good input and a lot of good ideas, sometimes the best ideas from some of our frontline staff. So with that being said, let's get into it. You have 2 different reports. First is the actual scorecard. It's like this. It looks like this crazy spreadsheet with a bunch of tabs. And then there's a Word document that has a narrative. So first things first, starting out with administrative. And again, we're not going to go over every measure. That would take hours and hours.
Good time.
Okay, sounds good. I'm in. But I would also note that when we're looking at it, we're looking at fiscal year 22-23, so that ended June 30th. So some of the things, there have been some updates, so just keep in mind that's the time period we're focused on. So when it comes to administration, there's several things that I think we did well. Strengthening citizen engagement, I know that was a big priority, and we have made some strides there, although there's certainly always room for improvement. We continue to broadcast all our town council meetings. We've got our sunshine list. We've got a new quarterly blog that Ms. Nichols works on and does a good job with that. We provide monthly updates on the Old Monroe Road project. Other things we've done good, implementing an economic development strategic plan. We just got thrown a loop with the county sewer situation. We were going to try to add a part-time position through Union County's economic development group. But I thought we did a pretty good job at getting creative and trying to come up with a new MOU for us. Downtown, we continue to kind of move forward with the plan for that. Last year was largely focused on getting a contract and working through the DFI. We got a lot of good information from them, and we're kind of moving forward. We've done a lot of pretty good administrative things too. Completed all our staff training for safety, where Aaron did a great job along with our police department and Union County with planning an emergency training scenario, so that was good. And we actually are making progress in securing the occupancy tax, which I know that was a board priority several years ago, maybe 5 years ago. David's nodding his head. Seems about right. And we just found out that it's passed the House, and it's going to a comprehensive package of a lot of similar type bills. So hopefully that will pass. I know that was something that was important to the board. Challenges. So in some ways, when it comes to our finances, this is an accomplishment and a challenge. We're in really good financial condition, the town is. However, in order to remain in good financial condition moving forward, we're going to need to address our budget deficit as the ARPA funds run out. That's not something that's new, but we'll continue to have that conversation and work towards a solution, and we'll figure it out. Other things that are issues, Union County sewer capacity, that's obviously a challenge. We had 3 recordable injuries last year. We set our goal at 0 because we just refused to accept like somebody getting hurt. So we've rebooted our safety committee. Shout out to Ms. Reed, Ms. McCall, and everybody on that committee who's done a lot of good work. We've relooked at all our policies, and whenever there's an injury, our safety committee will look at it and say, all right, is there anything we can do differently? That kind of thing. Maintaining a workforce. When it comes to turnover numbers, our turnover numbers, I think we're about 17%. We set a goal at 10%. But this is kind of one of those things where I actually think we're doing better now when it comes to turnover than we have in the past when our numbers were lower. And you might just say, how do you think that, Alex? Well, I think it's because we're so strong in the department head position, and also because we've just had some turnover more at the entry level type things. We've had some natural turnover, retirements, that kind of thing. And I'm not just saying this because I'm in a vulnerable position with my back turned to them, but really the department heads, when it comes to local government, are just incredibly critical. In my opinion, arguably the most critical in a local government organization. Just because you have great department heads doesn't mean you're going to be successful, but you're not going to be successful without great department heads. So that's something that I'm really proud of and feel as good about it, and where we're going and how they're growing to, and the leadership they're providing to the department. So there's some things that we did well. I want to give credit to the board. Y'all have really stepped up and made our compensation package for staff really great. Y'all should give yourselves credit. That has had a 100% direct effect on the quality of the operations of town, full stop, and what we're able to do, whether it's ranging from all these different planning initiatives to making sure the trash is good, to pursuing CALIA accreditation, like just across the board. It's really quality. There's some things that we haven't done well. We didn't hold an all hands on deck meeting this past year, which is we try to get everybody on a staff level together and we'll talk through them. Hey, this is what's going on. We did it with police, but not with staff as a whole. So this is kind of one of the things we learned from, and we've already got one for this year scheduled. And also we're looking to gear up back to really get our performance evaluation system up the ground. We're going to do it. It's been comical, all the different challenges that have popped up and bit us, but we're going to do it over the next year or so. And then, let's see, that's about it for administration. Any questions on administration, y'all? I'm not being comprehensive because, all right. Engineering accomplishments. I really think, and I'm proud of our engineering department. They've really been throwing a lot of disorganized items and have really organized a lot of things and are really moving forward. So they've been engaged at the TCC level with CARPO. That's important so we can stay in line with funding. We knocked out 40 stormwater repair projects last year, which is a lot. And 92% were completed within 2 months of purchase orders being issued. But we still have a backlog, so it's just going to be an ongoing challenge. But really felt like we're really getting a system and a process to really knock those out. Got a new way of doing our resurfacing. We're continuing to knock that out. The biggest challenge last year was just being fully staffed and having turnover in the department. Now we're stable, we're good, and I think we're kind of moving forward. And a lot of the challenges from last year, not having staff to perform a sidewalk inventory or analysis or things that we worked out during the budget process and took care of. All right, keep moving here. Finance, again, finance, great condition, but there are challenges moving forward. But from an administrative standpoint and a council standpoint, we've got some things to be proud of. Our 21-22 financial audit was completed successfully. No material weaknesses or significant deficiencies identified. Our audit's underway. Last year we did our 5-year financial forecast. This year we'll see that coming up again. Again, we received the GFOA Certificate of Achievement for Excellent for financial reporting. We received that since 2015, so that's what, eight years in a row. So that's great. They don't give those out. and the budget got adopted, so it's not easy. So, yeah. Parks and Rec Department, really worked hard on citizen engagement and really knocking out a lot of great improvements, really ramping that up. Building out a great team. They had 30 events last year, and I think, Eunice, how many are y'all gonna have? I remember it was just 60, 80, something crazy. And you might say, well, that's not sustainable, and I would say, but they've reaching out, getting a lot of different volunteers. They've coordinated with 45-plus volunteers, so they're really working hard to kind of supplement the staff. And the staff that has been built there has been really great. I really appreciate y'all letting us do a maintenance supervisor position. That has saved so much money, just like things that we didn't think about and anticipate. It has just paid for itself. Challenges, tennis camps and classes. We're seeing not a lot of interest in instructional tennis programs. And so we're gonna try to kind of re-resource there and figure that out. And getting feedback from attendees, it's just been hard with our staff level to like set up a process to do that, so we're trying to do that. All right. So I'm gonna keep moving here, so don't get the signal. No signals? All right.
We're doing it with our feet.
Planning department, so we really, with the planning department, when you're dealing with this kind of things, you're gonna hear complaints. It's just natural because it's a marriage where you wanna provide customer service, you wanna be helpful, at the same time you're having to enforce the rules, right? And so, it's not just purely customer service and that stuff, but you always wanna be problem-solving help. And I think our planning department does a really good job, from what I see, and just the sheer lack of complaints I receive. And really praise. If you hear praise for a planning department, like how responsive they are, how kind they are, how customer service oriented, I promise you there are 100 other things just like that we just don't hear about. So we really are doing a great job of doing a lot of things in-house, whether it's working towards the downtown streetscape plan, doing a lot of the planning work over yonder by the hospital. And our planning department makes sure our web pages are updated regularly. We used to get a lot of complaints about, hey, I can't find anything, nothing's there, where are all the current development? And at least I don't hear those often. And then shout out to Max, he got his AICP certification. And they don't give those things, that's a big test. And it almost killed him, but you did it, buddy, proud of you. There's a lot of studying that went into that.
I told you he was certifiable. Oh, that was totally.
Some of the challenges, maintaining the high-quality planning staff on more of the entry-level positions has been a challenge, right? And it's tough because they're entry-level, so naturally they're going to turn over more, hopefully, than a director position. At the same time, we've only got 3 planning staff, so if you lose one, you're down like a third of your workforce, and so it creates a challenge. Another challenge that I'll need y'all's help with is really making sure we maintain a full membership of planning board. We're still not fully staffed, and I believe it was last planning board, they didn't have a quorum. Is that right, Max? And the one before, so ask y'all help. If you know anybody that might be a good fit for the planning board, please encourage them to apply. I'm happy to talk to them. I'm sure Max is happy to talk to them about what that would entail. Police department, if this is one of the things that in some towns, you get to the annual retreat, and you'll see a lot of the discussions focus on the police department because they've got all these issues, and we don't have that. And in some cases, we take that for granted, right? But in some cases, being taken for granted is the greatest compliment you can have. Our police department has run really smoothly. It's doing really well. They are going full speed toward CALIA accreditation, which is a big deal. And we're scheduled for our last on-site assessment in April 2024. So hopefully when we get that done, we'll have a big party for everybody and families and really celebrate that, because that's a big deal to really set the standard and prove, not just do, but prove that we are doing, our police department is running and operating and acting according to policing best practices. They've done a lot of different things, established a comprehensive outreach programs to the community, both from an education and a enforcement standing, provided CPR and first aid training to residents, created a staff and reserve officer program. So what are some of the challenges? So creating a technology strategic plan. We just didn't get to it on that level this year, but I know they're working on that and gonna look at that again. And then also the big challenge the chief has already set in motion is to increase our firearms proficiency with our police department as well. So, and that's it. That concludes the balanced scorecard. I'm happy to answer any questions, talk through any issues you may have now or in the future if you look at something, or I'm also happy to sit down and be quiet. So.
How's our police staffing? Is that,
So,
I know we've done a couple of things around that there. We still several folks shy?
so as of last year, we, turnover was 17.8% for last year. And that does not include anything like a retirement or anything like that. So, last year, we struggled, and as a town, we struggled a little bit, but we're pretty close right now. And we don't want to use the F word, which is full for the record. But Chief and I talked, and he has got people going through the processes, and we're pretty close right now, I believe. It just takes, once you hire somebody, it takes a number of weeks, months to get them to where they can be out on the road, and rightfully so, right?
I thought we talked about potentially a few more, having some more positions there. Are we talking about those positions too, or?
No, this just includes what's funded now. We will probably need, this budget year is gonna be very challenging because I know we'll probably need to talk about with the growth in the town, potentially, do we need to add any new positions to the police department and potentially elsewhere in the organization. So that's something we'll probably need to talk about in the coming months. Chief, anything you want to speak to? I'm kind of more intimately.
Very appreciative of the council's efforts to help us staff these positions and get to where we are. Like I said, Alex and I will not use the made great strides in the last 6 months.
All right, well, thank you very much for the
All right.
presentation.
Thank
and,
you, sir.
I know we've got some good reading to do between now and this next meeting. Next up, discussion of the 2725 Old Monroe Road property use. Wyatt asked this to be on the agenda. He's not here. He did send out that email, so we think we know what his thoughts are on this, which was, I can't remember the exact wording, but basically, was it sell it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he would be fine with unloading it right now. So I think the bulk of tonight is just discussion. We can take an action if we want, but I'll start over with Brad and then we'll go across.
Well, I don't have a lot to say. I would prefer the mayor lead the discussion, but I know it's on the agenda, so you've kept it. So I don't have a lot to say other than I don't know that I'd be in a position to stop doing what we authorized staff to do a year or two ago when we bought the land. If I recall, and I was in the room, we bought the land because the town has a town center small area plan. So I'm going back to policy, which said buy assets, land bank responsibly for a future town center development. That in coordination with 40 to 50 acres across the street that are on the market beside our town park plus the land we bought beside us, these residential properties, seem to be the right moves in this market to have opportunity down the road to have a town center. I don't like the word downtown. I'm trying to stop using that. It doesn't really fit in our context, but a town center. The ultimate disposition of that building, I don't know, I don't care today, because I believe, as we heard earlier, we're going to be under construction for the next couple, 3 years. Can't think of a great use for the building, cost effective because of the upfit costs to the sewer issues that we're enduring for the next while. So selling it to anyone just to take it off our balance sheet doesn't appeal to me. So there, that's what I'd say.
I would repeat almost everything he said. We bought it with a purpose in mind. That purpose hasn't changed. I would be very much against unloading it right now. And then the rest of what Brad said.
I'm in the same boat. Everything that we hired the consultants, all the consultants said that in order for us to build a town center, we needed to have site control over as many parcels as possible. And I've always felt like we talked about it, that this was a long-term investment. I know after we bought it, the interest level went up significantly across the town. And then the sewer thing happened and all that interest dried up a lot, just simply because of the available options that exist there. Yeah, I mean, I think if we can rent it for a short time, I think that's good. I don't think that we're gonna sell it, but I do joke with Alex, if somebody comes along and offers us 10 billion, sell that sucker, man. But yeah, I think we're holding it until we can work things out with the sewer and construction and hopefully get us a public partnership to build our town center.
Okay,
I agree. I'm in it for the long.
short and sweet?
Yes.
And for her, she says that's about 6 weeks.
Sorry, did you say something? Oh,
I had to give you a hard time.
We don't talk as much as y'all do.
you know, I've noticed that sometimes it's not that you don't talk as much as that
You've already said it.
it's already said. So it's like, I noticed it with Brad. I was like, well, there goes most of what I was thinking.
Next time, start down here.
Start down there
Well, I
next time. right?
alternate back and forth. And the next one's, all right, well, I don't think we need to take a vote on this. We've discussed it. Wyatt wants to bring it up again. We can discuss it again. I didn't want to take it off the agenda. He put it on. He's not here to,
I do have one question, though. I mean, with it being a parcel that is very expensive, I mean, is there a tax or a overhead that we're incurring each year that could be impactful to us? I mean, that might cause us to have grief across the town? I mean,
I think it's opportunity cost. Yeah, did you ask Alex?
well, I'm just asking general. I mean,
I
if,
said no.
if this was like I mean, if it was a privately owned, you'd be accruing, you know, whatever it was, the tax cost, which we know is pretty expensive based off of what the feedback we've heard from
Well,
other folks.
Well, don't confuse sale price with tax value. One of the considerations is what does a town do when they land bank? They pull things off the tax roll, so we lose revenue. That's why we need to do it responsibly. You would be surprised at how little tax revenue we've lost by just pulling it off the tax rolls, which, could you guess? It's like $1,700 annually in
Really?
tax revenue the town is not receiving because that plant is, or the retail store is no longer there. So tax value is one thing. What we bought it for is market value. So that's why I'm patient and okay. If we start buying land all over our town and spend money, that's irresponsible. But I think this tied to policy makes perfect sense. I don't know the ultimate disposition. It probably is to be torn down. I don't know when and who does that, but it's not this year.
and we don't have to pay like Union County taxes on it?
We don't pay taxes now, we're exempt.
Okay, okay. I didn't know if, yeah, okay. And then the only other thing I was gonna add to this is that I had floated the idea of if we did want to do upfits, like, potentially using the money that the DOT was effectively buying away from us, for that property and using that money to reinvest within that property, if we were wanting to do a short-term lease upfit kind of thing. That way it doesn't take away from our, taxes, or, it just goes directly back into that property.
Maybe we can hold that discussion for another time, but I think we've hashed this out tonight.
Yeah, I was just floating that out for everybody to hear.
All right. We good with this item? All right, next up, 6B and C. Shall we just combine them and let you have it?
Well, I'm just wondering what happened to 6A, but that's okay.
6A is the Old Monroe property.
That's just 6, but that's fine.
All right, I call it 6A.
Yeah,
Well, you are
let
nitpicky.
me talk about each of these in order. And there are two separate things. One of them is policy, one of them is well, they're both policy. So two things happened in the last couple of weeks, well, several months, that sort of brought this topic to bear. One is the town of Matthews, wonderful neighbor, rezoned. And would you mind, whoever's driving, pulling up? Perfect, you did it. And can you zoom out just a little bit and put your pointer on the town of Matthews, just rezoned right across our border, which is fantastic for us eventually, right to the left of the red over there. Yeah, perfect. That big green space right there. You see the big green space there? So the town of Matthews just rezoned that back in May, 200 acres to I-2 zoning, general industrial. And industrial sometimes has a bad connotation, but we should not think that way. So that is less than a mile from, okay, Aaron, you can swing back down to Union West Business Park. The second thing that happened is I read an article in the Union Weekly that the county gave some tax incentives, which again is totally fine. It's their policy to do so for an existing company that's expanding. And if you could zoom in now, Aaron, that would be helpful to that big purple area. Yeah. So the company that is expanding is called Steel Point. We talked about them at our last meeting, I think. Some of us have talked about them as well, but they make trailers, commercial pull-behind trailers for large equipment. They're sort of central to the park, right adjacent to the big green pasture. And their company, they just purchased that big green pasture from the McQuaige family, longtime Stallings residents. It's 12 acres. So, and you notice it's not in any color because it's unincorporated. So two things happen. Big industrial rezoning for a future clean tech, there's all kind of buzzwords, but industrial park in Matthews. Less than a mile away is our really only true opportunity for a business/industrial park. I also popped over and met with the folks at Steel Point at their invitation because they're doing a rezoning. We'll talk about that in a second. So at the end of the day, here's what I'm asking. I'd like staff to begin work on a text amendment to our outdoor storage ordinance. Let me just walk through it and you'll understand it. Right now, to have outdoor storage capacity, which is often important for manufacturing and industrial uses, you have to have a minimum of 5 acres of land, okay? One policy I should back up undergirding all of this, again, you want to link action to policy. So we have an economic development plan. We did it 3 years ago or so. And it said our 2030 goal is to have 80% of our revenue come from residential, 20% from commercial, industrial, those type. Right now, we're 84-16, trending the wrong direction. Why do you want that? You want industrial and commercial. More revenue to the town, less expenses. Houses are expensive, businesses are not. So that's the policy. We have 2 industrial uses in town or small area plan or parks. Union West is in the Monroe Bypass Small Area Plan. It calls for the whole thing, by the way, to be purple and not red, but we'll talk about that later at another meeting, not tonight. We also have the Smith Farm. If you just were to go that way, you'd see some more purple. And the other way, Aaron, you'd see some more purple at Smith Farm and Gribble, and that is the second area of industrial in our community. Again, railroad track running right through the middle, it makes perfect sense. That's where you want industrial. So we've got two big industrial areas. We have 103 industrial parcels in our town, only 10 are more or larger than 5 acres. So if we're pinning our outdoor storage ability to having more than 5 acres, only 10 parcels could ever have outdoor storage unless they go through a very expensive, lengthy conditional zoning process. The parcels in Union West Business Park range from 1 to 4.5 acres, excluding the big one that's not in the town. We hope it would be in the town one day. My thinking is that I'd like your approval to have staff begin the process of amending our development ordinance, section 10.1.37 for outdoor 36 for outdoor storage, to reduce that 5 acre threshold to 3 acre threshold, so that if you're only in industrial, outdoor storage, 5 acres and above applies to 3 or 4 or 5 different districts. I'm only thinking industrial now, because that's where we want to spur growth, and I think that's where the opportunity will be. Reduce the 5 to 3. If you do that, 10 more parcels, just 10 of the 102, would then have the ability to have outdoor storage, which means we have tons of 1 acre or less parcels in the industrial category. 5 of these would be in Union West Business Park. The other 5 would be over there on Smith Farm Road, Gribble Road. Only 4 would be adjacent to residential, and of those 4, 2 have fences, 1 has a huge tree line, and 1 is undeveloped. It's the very top one on the Union West Business Park there, that one. Up a little bit more, up, 1 more right there. That parcel's undeveloped, so one concern is how do you buffer that? That parcel would be a parcel that would gain the ability to have outdoor storage. They may not need it or want it when it develops, but part of the recommendation is to have staff do a text amendment to lower 5 acres or 3 acres and design some mitigating effects such as requiring fences, trees, landscaping, things that would buffer the neighborhood. An added benefit, I'll be very transparent about this because the folks at Steel Point are going to ask for a rezoning of a parcel of land at the very front. Aaron, you may not know where this is. If you do, I'd be really impressed. All the way to the front. It's right at the
Orangish.
Yeah, go south,
To the right.
right there. Stop right there.
She does know.
Very good. So that building is for sale. The little vacant parcel right above it is also for sale. So one of our existing businesses is going to go through a rezoning of that red parcel, we think, to turn it to industrial. That parcel, when combined with the one above it that they buy, would be 3 acres. So I'm asking also, we would do this to keep an existing business and let them have outdoor storage. They would be one of the ones, when combined, one of those 10 or 11 that would receive the ability to have outdoor storage, making that project feasible. So I've said tons on that, but the big picture is we have 10 parcels that can use outdoor storage because they're big enough. We have 10 more that I think we ought to have the ability to have outdoor storage, including one that's got an active expansion project on it for an existing business. And we want to be careful to buffer neighborhoods. I'd ask staff to do that. So that's my action, is authorize town manager and planning staff to draft a text amendment, begin that process with the community outreach that's required to reduce the outdoor storage for only industrial zoning from 5 acres to 3 acres, period.
Is that an official motion?
Yes.
I'll second.
Melanie, legal question. Should I wait a moment? No, never mind. Heather's back. Yes.
So it would require,
require those that back up to residential, there would be a requirement for buffers.
That's what we're asking the staff to come up with a text amendment that
In
does
addition
that.
to the, yeah, in addition to the reduction of the 5 to 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There already
there already are a type, I believe it's a D, type D buffer or something required. Max could speak about that. There are already buffers required for outdoor storage when it's adjacent to a residential or another zoning category, I think. But yeah, we would want staff to really vet that again, because only one that I can see would actually have a development ability adjacent to neighborhoods. Now, down the road, a 1 parcel and a 2 parcel, or they could combine parcels and do the same thing that Still Point wants to do there. So it wouldn't just be those 10 new parcels. There could be more in the future, but the point is staff would need to develop some sort of, put that in their filter as they work through this text amendment.
Second, staff to do this. Okay.
How's the pleasure of the council? Direct staff to do a text amendment for outdoor storage on property of 3 acres. That is a zoned industrial zoned 3 acres can have outdoor storage. And work the buffers to make sure that we're not gonna have up against a residential.
Aye.
Motion second, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody vote, please.
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous?
Good, thank you.
I do have a question for, you said that they purchased the property.
Let me back up a second. So Steel Point is the tenant in a building that they don't own. Their owner, Primax Properties, a commercial developer in Charlotte who builds commercial properties, is actually the owner of the pasture where they plan to build a 100,000 square foot building, but would not be the owner of this 2 parcel combination down there. Does that answer your question?
Well, I think, so there's no risk that they could potentially move their whole business to Union County effectively? Or do you think they
Oh,
could
to
help?
move into the unincorporated spot?
Yeah.
No, in fact, one of the things that we probably ought to do is get to know them a little bit better. I don't think that's likely, no.
I got a trailer hitch, we can do some product testing.
Yeah, and I think, I'll talk more about that in the next item, but yeah, that's a great question.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
May I continue? The next item is a little bit, zoom out a lot bigger. It is really just, it is focused on Union West Business Park. I'd like to ask you to refer to our Economic Development Committee, which we have. It doesn't often meet, to review and discuss the feasibility of a public-private partnership for infrastructure improvements to the Union West Business Park to improve its competitiveness and business retention and attraction. That's a mouthful. Simply saying, I'd love for our ED committee with staff to take a look at that business park, given the new business park that will be developed in Matthews, 200 acres, and given some zoning on the ground and some opportunities in the park. It's sorely in need of some infrastructure. By that I mean roads. 4 roads in the park. 2 of them are maintained by the state as a result of the bypass construction, but historically, all 4 of those roads have been privately maintained and not well done. Not well done. In fact, if you drive and if you spend some time in that business park, you'll realize how much of a detriment it is to any business locating there. So I think there's a role to play for the town, certainly not to build the roads ourselves, but there's got to be I'd like to have a discussion with the property owners, the county, the state, using some resources to pull together some funds to see if it's even feasible to take the other 2 roads, Beltway and Cupped Oak is what they're called, and put those in some sort of condition where we might accept them and begin maintaining them for the health of the business park, or not. It would depend on the business owner stepping up to. So it'd be a 12 to 18 month type exercise in committee. We bring back some thoughts to you then.
Need a motion or consensus? Alex, Melanie? Refer to committee?
I would think just consensus.
All right, so would I, but
Okay.
you guys are sitting there, I better ask. What's the pleasure of the council?
Absolutely.
Council, not cancel, council,
Canceled me?
council.
Giving me the finger?
Refer to the Economic Development Committee.
Right.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.
Next up, adjournment.
Yep.
All right. Thank you all for your attendance.
Second. Vote on it. Second.
All in favor? Aye.
All right.